Hey there, everybody. It's Dan Francis with the Orbit Recovery Ecosystem. And I wanted to go over today President Trump's executive order, the Great American Recovery Initiative. Now, this thing matters. This matters a lot because it's going to completely change the landscape of recovery from the standpoint of what is required in order for everything to work together. In the past, we had that episodic care. Up until now, we still have that care where there's crisis, intervention, treatment, and probably crisis again, intervention and treatment again, if the statistics hold true. And what this order establishes is an initiative that's co-chaired by the Department of Health and Human Services and a senior advisory for addiction recovery. It's a fantastic thing for the addiction space, particularly for those seeking treatment. So this is what it says. It says the order directs the initiative to recommend all necessary steps to coordinate the federal government's response to the addiction crisis, including by better aligning relevant federal programs, setting clear objectives, and providing data, very important idea, data-driven updates to the public on progress toward meeting these objectives. There's only one platform on planet Earth that'll do that right now, and that's the Orbit Recovery Ecosystem. The ecosystem has all sorts of different layers of data. So the federal government could see their own layer of data. There's nothing to stop them from having every single thing that they want right there, right now. And all we got to do is get people that are engaged in insurance-based, cash pay, private pay, recovery programs to use their telephone. That's all they got to do. It's almost a friction-free type of deal. Here's bullet point number 2. Take appropriate actions to increase awareness of the disease of addiction, help Americans receive the treatment they need, and foster a culture that celebrates recovery. I don't think we don't do that now. The problem with that is going to be that's stigma talk, right? It's stigma talk. And you're not going to end the stigma about the things that people like me, when I'm actively drinking and using drugs, do. You're just not going to do it. I don't think there's anything wrong with people having a different perspective on it, that maybe it's not the person, the old Christian idea, it's not the sinner, it's the sin. Maybe that's a message we can carry forward. But remember, people are really, truly hurt. And that demands respect also. And remember that people really do have serious losses, theft, relationships, property. And I think that demands a lot of respect too. The third bullet point is advise agencies on how to implement programs that integrate prevention, early intervention, treatment, recovery, support, and reentry. And this is precisely what the recovery ecosystem does. Early intervention, well, I don't think anybody has it any better than we do. Picking up behavioral cues and the drift from solid recovery back towards relapse, usually before the person participating knows it's happening. There's really nothing else that can do that. It's an amazing tool. And treatment, well, the therapist, a professional caregiver, can influence the recovery ecosystem a lot of ways. Any treatment model can be put in it. Right now, we have a treatment model in it that kind of lives along the line of CBT and ACT treatment models, but it can be anything, and it's easy to do. The recovery support is there too, and that these courses, the treatment program is delivered in messages throughout the day through SMS, and that's a special neurobiological method. We could tell you more about that in another video. And support reentry. And of course, when you have something that's continuously with you 24 hours a day and has an AI recovery coach in it that knows the answers, quite honestly, it can help you be successful at connecting to meetings and all these other things. Bullet point number 4, advise agencies on directing appropriate grants to support addiction recovery with a focus on prevention, treatment, and long-term resilience. And then it finishes up, connects number 5, consult with states, tribal nations, local jurisdictions, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, the private sector, and philanthropic entities on the best strategies to ensure more Americans receive the treatment they need and celebrate individuals going through the recovery process. Orbit, the Orbit Recovery Ecosystem, is massively scalable. It doesn't have a cap. We can do this today. This can happen right now. So if you know people, share this. Introduce them to what we're doing. We're glad to talk to all those types of organizations because it's not made for one thing. It's made for all these things. And it can be used a lot of different ways. So starting to treat addiction as a chronic treatable illness with relapse rates similar to other chronic diseases is important. We know that 48.4 million Americans, or roughly 16.8% of the nation's population, suffer from some sort of addiction, and very few who need the treatment actually go get it. This makes it available all the time to everybody right now. Treatment starts the moment you engage Orbit. Among the 40.7 million adults with a substance use problem, about 95.6% of 38.1 million don't get the care that they need. Addiction contributes to declining workforce participation. We all know that. Increased healthcare costs. We all know that. Homelessness. I've been in a homeless ministry for some time, and I'll tell you, that's one of the main things going on. Family instability. We all know that. And lost productivity. We all know that. The framework for addiction treatment should be a parallel that of other chronic diseases, using evidence-based care, scientific advancement, and continuous support and community connection. You can't have any better evidence than the evidence that the Orbit recovery ecosystem develops right now. There really is no better evidence. Scientific advancement, well, this is the very front cutting edge of technology. Continuous support's with you 24/7. As long as your device is on you and you're using it, Orbit's working. And community connection, that's what it does. So as we get into the AI part of it, and you think, how is this going to, how could AI make it better? It seems like there's things out there that AI separates people or makes the whole thing different. Well, it can do that, of course, but it also connects everybody. And if you had a hub where everybody's getting the information, where all the people that care about the person trying to get well are all connected and all getting information and all can act to be supportive, helpful, interventive as necessary, all in one place, all operating in a cultural and contextual appropriateness for their connection. So like parents see stuff that is, well, for parents to see, and a therapist sees the things that the therapist needs to see, and a 12-step sponsor sees the things that will benefit them. It's mind-blowing how effective that is, not to mention the neuroscience on how Orbit's delivered. We keep looking at scientific metrics that really aren't the ones that count. The question is, we have a here's the point of view anyway, the Orbit Recovery Program and ecosystem is addiction is a subconscious problem. Nobody chose to be an addict or an alcoholic. No one woke up today and said, I'm going to really see if I can get good at this. Nobody did. But yet we want to train them or teach them out of that problem. And you can't do that. You can't attack a subconscious problem with conscious effort. Maybe you can, but it takes a long time. It's not a satisfying journey. It can be difficult and arduous, and it doesn't necessarily work. These are why the spiritual approaches work so well, because they're not attacking the drinking or the drug problem. They're attacking the thinking problem, the subconscious problem. And there's some of an immersion element to that, where you go to meetings and you have a textbook or a basic text type of thing, and you use this stuff to immerse yourself into a new set of terminology and a new way of thinking, a new way of looking at things. And over time, that definitely works. But there's another thing that goes on too, because that's still a forced, contrived effort that we have to wait on. But no one taught you how to use this phone, did they? Nobody sat back and said, hey, let me show you how to use apps and all these things. You do it automatically. No one had to tell you to be on standby for your telephone all the time, every single day. Nobody had to teach you that. And it's right there. So if you can get the ideas of recovery to the brain that way, which the Orbit recovery ecosystem does, then you're going to have a far higher rate of success with all the other efforts, things like 12-step meetings, traditional professional care. All those things have great value. I've certainly in my recovery journey have benefited from all of those things. I love them. But there were giant, long gaps, maybe 100 hours, 150 hours a week of gaps. What's going on then? Because I don't know a single person that brought their bottle of liquor to the therapist's office and relapsed in front of them. And I don't know many people that have relapsed inside of a 12-step meeting or some sort of community group, though I think it does happen. But I do know a lot of people that were isolated in between those two things and did relapse then. That's where Orbit comes into play. Detecting those behavioral shifts and drifts towards relapse, sometimes days in advance, and sending AI-based text messages to help move them closer back to the center of the recovery idea, and notifying through electronic means the support people around that person, both professional and community-based and family-based, that can let them know how important they are and how much it matters that they succeed. The orbit recovery ecosystem, it literally is mandated under the new what was it called again? Launching the Great American Recovery Initiative. It's the only thing on planet Earth that meets all those criteria right now. There simply isn't anything else. Thanks for taking time to listen to this. We're going to do a hardcore breakdown of this over the next week. There'll be several videos, and keep an eye out for it. The recovery ecosystem. Find it online. Get engaged. If you have a particular treatment style, program, method, or model, please contact us. We can make this available to you at a relatively low cost. The cost typically runs about $150 a month per participant. We connect everything. We manage it can be branded under your brand. They can have your particular treatment model, all built right in, all built on the foundation of something truly amazing that represents the first seriously forward effort in the recovery space in 100 years. I look forward to talking to you.